After evaluating various new team applications, Andretti Global got the green light to join Formula One in 2025. The selection process was quite demanding, and notable contenders like Hitech and Roden Carlin didn't cut. To be fair, the latter was even willing to offer Jamie Chadwick an F1 seat, which, in all honesty, made them look a bit clueless. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for having a woman in Formula One. But let's face it, if a male driver finished dead last in the Indy Lights series, they wouldn't be considered for F1 either. Let's not argue with the void, let's move on. Andretti may have FIA's approval, but Formula One management and the teams themselves still have a say in their future on the grid. And as usual, there's some drama going on. Even #blessed seem to support the FIA, although that might have changed by now. Make up your mind, mate. Moving on to other news, Aston Martin announced their entry into the hypercar category at Le Mans. That meant no more Android interviews, but it seems some of their personality patches have worked. Now, let's talk about Stroll. Seems like it's got a memory problem since it claims, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, while still employing Lance Stroll, but we'll get back to him later. First, let's focus on the only practice session of the weekend as F1 geared up for another sprint event in 2023. Verstappen topped FP1, and he could secure his third world title this weekend if he outscores Perez by 3 points. Frankly, I'd be more surprised if Checo manages to score 3 points at all. The windy and dusty conditions made it a struggle to stay on track, and Ferrari faced some unique technical issues, including Leclerc's SF23 experiencing a rather unpleasant pit stop. After the first hour, it was straight into qualifying for Sunday's Grand Prix, or if you were Lance Stroll, straight into the drop zone. Lance has been struggling lately, and now it seems he's decided to take on one of his engineers. Aston Martin hasn't said much about that, but we have more relevant drivers to discuss, so let's move on to Q2. In Q2, we saw some big names fail to make the top 10 shootout. Sergio Perez was no surprise, but Carlos Sainz's 12th place start raised eyebrows. At this stage, Verstappen's pole position seemed like a given. He had been in a league of his own, choosing to relax during Q3 instead of going for a second run. Predictably, no one could beat his initial time, not even the McLaren drivers, who decided to create their circuit and faced post-session penalties for it. At this point, it felt like a typical F1 weekend in 2023, but Saturday morning had a twist. Pirelli tyres turned out to be less reliable than the Qatari government, and F1 didn't seem to have learned from past tyre troubles. Pirelli's solution was to paint some curbs and give drivers extra time to learn the new layout on Twitter. Square one proceeded, and Stroll was back on the track. However, Logan Sargent stole the show with a woeful performance, ending up 40 seconds behind. No wonder Williams is delaying their driver decision. Surprisingly, Perez made it to the top 10, while Hamilton, who had been raising human rights concerns, had a tough time and ended up 12th. In Square 3, we all expected Verstappen to dominate, but he made a mistake on his first lap, leading to a time deletion. He could only manage third place in the end. This set the stage for a McLaren showdown at the top, with Ashley initially leading but eventually gifting P1 to Piastri with a last-minute mishap, while the Papaya Army scrambled to find excuses for Lando's performance. Now, let's jump into the sprint race. With many questions echoing through the Doha desert, the 5 lights went out to an all-McLaren front row. However, this status quo didn't last long. Lando Norris's chances of victory slipped away as he struggled to get off the line. Both he and Piastri started on medium tyres but swiftly found themselves switching to softs. Their predicament only improved when Liam Lawson's sprint debut came to a crashing halt, reminiscent of Nikita May's pin. With Lawson's exit came the safety car, and as it retreated, George Russell was immediately on the offensive. Further back, Alonso briefly contemplated a daring move on Norris, adding to the drama. Russell achieved the seemingly impossible by passing Piastri's McLaren, something he hadn't managed since Singapore. The Briton then aimed to extend his lead, but it wouldn't be as easy as it seemed. First, the soft tyres began to deteriorate rapidly on the Doha circuit, and second, Logan Sargent was enduring his struggles, making it hard to create a gap. The safety car made another appearance, and now Carlos Sainz was attempting to overtake Piastri, but the McLaren rookie held his ground, showcasing a stellar display of defensive driving. However, the real move of the race wasn't that one. It was whatever happened to Perez, Hülkenberg, and Ocon. Now, who doesn't love a good German hot dog? Although this isn't quite what I had in mind. Checo's exit also secured Max Verstappen's third world championship, but Esteban's actions did ruin what could have been a thrilling title battle. Sorry, I can't hold back the sarcasm here. Anyway, at this point, the soft tyres had fallen off dramatically, and Piastri had regained the lead after overtaking Russell on lap 11. With the Doha circuit resembling an extra chicane that Pirelli might have considered installing, Oscar pulled away from the field. Verstappen and Norris, taking advantage of their medium tyres, fought their way back to the podium. At the end of lap 19, Oscar Piastri became an F1 race winner. I think, anyway. I'm not sure if the sprint race counts. Max Verstappen became the world champion, but it seemed like nobody cared. Winning the title on a Saturday is a strange feeling, I must say. This feeling likely worsened for Perez when Red Bull revealed they had to change his chassis overnight, meaning he'd start from the pit lane. That wasn't the end of the pre-race drama, as Pirelli announced that due to tyre concerns, cars could only run on a set of tyres for a maximum of 18 laps before requiring a pit stop. It was starting to feel a lot like the 2005 IndyCar race as we progressed. Carlos Sainz's Ferrari also refused to start due to a fuel system issue. Or maybe it simply couldn't fathom why Scuderia needed to make 6 pit stops in a single race. As we prepared for the race start, all eyes were on Lewis Hamilton, who was starting on soft tyres and expected to make a strong getaway. Whether he could capitalize on it without a safety car was uncertain. We did indeed get a safety car on the first lap, thanks to #blessed. Perhaps it's a good thing Toto Wolff wasn't in Qatar that weekend. As Russell vented his frustration over the team radio, the race resumed, with Verstappen holding off Piastri and Alonso at the restart. George's race had gone so badly that he was now battling Sergio Perez, but he managed to overtake him on lap 7. He continued to fight his way through the pack, as overtakes and penalties for Sergio Perez piled up. Fernando Alonso, on the other hand, was dealing with a sore back as he attempted to make progress. Mistakes like this weren't helping his cause. Maybe someone should remind him. But there he goes again. The strategy was playing a significant role, and with the 18-lap tyre limit imposed by the FIA, this felt more like an IndyCar race in the sense that I had no idea what was happening. What we could tell, however, was that the drivers weren't enjoying the scorching conditions. Logan Sargent was the hardest hit and had practically turned his helmet into a makeshift vomit bag by lap 44, forcing him to retire. Well, as David Coulthard would say, at least the car would be in one piece. Looks like DC is helping me with my jokes. As we approached the final stages of the race, Verstappen had a commanding lead, leaving us with a battle between the two McLarens for second and third. Lando Norris had been a bit salty all weekend, and this trend continued when team orders were imposed to avoid a repeat of Monza. Therefore, the podium remained as it was, with Verstappen taking another win, and I've lost count of how many that is for the season. It was a pretty eventful race for the drivers, to say the least. I can't recall a time when conditions were quite like this, and with the short, intense stints only amplifying the issues, Pirelli will have a lot to answer for in the 2 weeks before Austin. However, we must acknowledge Max Verstappen and congratulate him on an utterly dominant season. Now, the focus shifts to Perez and whether he can hold on to P2 in the standings. It sounds ridiculous given how dominant his car has been, but then again, it's Checo Perez. What did you think of the race? I'm eager to hear your thoughts and perspectives. Please share them in the comments section below. Also, remember to subscribe to the channel for notifications on our future uploads, ensuring you stay informed about the developments in the 2023 Formula One season.